Hey guys, well, welcome back to the Legacymakers podcast. Super excited to have Ben Applebee with us today. He is a dear, dear friend of mine. We've been traveling, running together for maybe 10 years or so. So we go back a little bit, but I have him as a guest today, and I'm just excited to have him share with us and share with you some of the things that are both kind of tracking with both of us in our ministries and with our families. And I think it'll just be a cool conversation with maybe some special nuggets. So just excited to have you guys listening. But yeah, this is Ben Applebee. He's the pastor of Generations OC Church. But Ben, why don't you just introduce yourself? Who are you? Who's your family? What do you do? What are you up to? What's your purpose?
Yeah.
Just give us the lowdown.
Well, I'm honored to be here, Ben to Ben, coast to coast, baby.
That's right.
Taking the world by storm, starting with a family.
Mm-hmm.
So, just honored to be a day one Legacymakers guy.
That's right.
It'll be ride or die for sure.
That's right.
Man. So honored to be here with you and to be with your listeners today. My wife, Riley, and I have been married 18 years this last May. We have 12 children from age 14 to about 10 months old. 4 of them are adopted through the county. And, our first call was kind of international humanitarian service. And then we traveled the world a little bit doing that, got our grad degree doing that. And then crazily enough, God called us into local church ministry. Wow. So it wasn't going to be global missionary, it was going to be local missionary.
And that was, when was that? How long have you been married?
We've been married since 2008. And
when did you, after you got married, when did you go to local church ministry?
Yeah, we got called in 2011.
Okay.
Same year Levi was born. So
now, where did you start again?
Yeah, we started at then Watermark.
Okay.
And Watermark was just a merge. Yeah, it was a merge of 2 Irvine churches that got into a building, got into Costa Mesa, and since changed the name into Generations.
Yeah.
And my father-in-law was the one who invited me to be a youth pastor.
Yeah.
Became a youth pastor there. And then 3 years later, I was a youth pastor at the Crossing Church in Costa Mesa, where you and I worked and met.
Okay.
And then became an associate there. And my father-in-law called me again, and he was interested in a succession process. Mm-hmm. And
it's amazing.
It was such a gift, because at that time in my life, it was like hit the wall, didn't know where we were going to go. The 2 jobs I thought I might get at the church were taken by other great men. And he called me that same month and just said, let's do succession. And so came back in 2017 to then Watermark. And we just built this plan, survived pandemic, and 6 years since have been many iterations of replant, revitalization, reorg, and I'll be nothing and nowhere without my wife, who's just been, such an incredible sidekick and partner in local church ministry. And over that same span of time, the 14 years of being in church leadership, had 12 kids in those 14 years. And so, and that's a God story and a whole thing we can go into, but
we'll get into that for sure, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, so I guess on the idea of church, what do you feel like has you fired up right now about just church ministry, being a pastor? What do you see on the horizon that kind of gets you excited?
Yeah, man. Right now, I'm super lasered in on the next generation, bro. Yeah, I'm ready to just give it away to the next generation. Just the keys, the car, the house, all of it, bro. Like there's this other great, organization in our area. Some know them as Circuit Riders, some know them as Activated Church or The Send. I know you're dialed in with them as well. And I went to their prayer gathering called Green Room, Greenhouse, something like that.
Okay.
Almost 2 years ago. And it's all these it's all college age pretty much, men and women from like every race, color, gender in this room, and they're just worshiping their hearts out. And you stand in there and just like in awe that there's this much passion and this much like confidence and faith. And one of the first thoughts I had was like, I want to bring my teenagers here so they can get a taste of like, quite honestly, my perspective was like, this is who you should marry. I think you should look for students like this when you get that age, of course, but like, and so my point of that story, just to land a plane here, is like, being around them, and obviously they exist to give it away to the next generation, right? And being around them the last 2 years has really influenced me just to say like, take a risk on the next gen. So like at our church, there's people like that. There's a 15-year-old boy from Compton, Gardena, and he's just got saved last year at our church. Got saved, didn't have a Bible. Edgar, our high school pastor, was like, yo, man, like, let's study this. And he's like, I don't have a Bible. So I got him a Bible. Amazing. And now he's just evangelizing his campus.
Wow.
And now he's showing up with 6 kids from his neighborhood.
Dang.
And I'm like, yo, I'm ready to give it away to John, who's barely been discipled, barely knows scripture, but he's like on Instagram posting about it. Yeah. Wow. And so those are the kids I just want to be like, yo, it's yours.
Dang, man.
That's what I'm pumped about.
That's so cool.
Yep.
I love that. Yeah, I remember that. I mean, that's how I met Meg, is like in a scene like that, and it's where it's at.
Yeah.
In that kind of youth, like back in the Jesus Culture days, the Desperation Band days.
Yeah.
Just fired up worship nights, worship concerts. And,
Hey,
man,
it's back, baby. It's happening.
yeah, that's exciting, dude. I love that.
Yeah.
So good. What would you say, I guess, kind of on the flip side of it, like what do you feel like, and these are just kind of some opening questions I thought to bring up, but what do you feel like is like the biggest challenge that a lot of pastors face right now? Like what's some of the things that are maybe causing a lot of heartache or issues, or just, maybe some hurdles that pastors might be facing?
Yeah.
Just kind of curious.
I can keep it to two. There's probably a long list, but if I kept it to two things, you can see all the research from Barna and elsewhere that pastors are insanely discouraged. Half of them are so discouraged they just want to give up. And, churches are dying left and right. We can't plant enough churches to replace how many are closing.
Oh, wow.
And it has to do with the lead pastor. I mean, the lead pastors are just alone, isolated, discouraged. But point number one is really this. What I've learned in the last couple of years is removing my own ego and identity from the work and the ministry.
Yeah.
So that's a problem, because if you get your ego and your identity tied into the fruitfulness of the church, then when it doesn't go your way, undoubtedly you're going to feel undone. You're going to feel like failure and like you want to quit. So I think that's a big issue for pastors.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't want to be cold and disconnected from the work. You're going to be in it, but it's leading from a gospel core. So that's a huge challenge for pastors. I think the other thing that my wife and I spent some time talking about is commitment. Just like people that are ready and willing to pick a church and plan to die there. That really drives me. And it's a huge challenge, man, because you got cultural
Challenge
tides
for pastors.
Yeah, because how can you get anything going when the people you're investing in are gone 2 years? So it's just, you want a committed core to build on and to multiply and reproduce. And so
what do you feel like on that note of the commitment, what do you feel like the issue is? Like, why does that happen?
Yeah, it's multifaceted. On the one hand, we're in an incredible market, dude. I mean, as you know, Southern California is so hard for next gen to take up roots. I mean, just straight up and down, they can't afford it. And so California is an incredibly gnarly place to be called right now. I mean, I just talked to a pastor who you guys know, Jonathan from Harbor Light, just down the road, and he got called here from Texas.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, he's the one getting called this way. Everyone else is going to Texas or Tennessee or Idaho or whatever. Yeah. And so that's we just affirm that. It's not like we can shake our fists at that all we want, but these young families are going to go where they can survive, where they can live. But I think the other thing is we just have a very, very low theology of covenant community. And we at our church, we define covenant as committed love. Are you going to be willing to die for the person next to you because they're willing to die for you? So we have such a low bar for covenant theology, but also ecclesiology, right? The theology of church. Like, what is it? Yeah. What are we? Who are we? And if it's not people journeying together, then you can have a hard time being on movement.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, so I guess, and this is kind of a rabbit trail, but what causes a family? Let's just go there. Like, what causes a family, parents, couples to kind of meander, to gravitate to different places? What do you feel like is there like a cultural, societal issue thing that's happening? What are the temptations in that?
Yeah. I think there is a pretty heavy consumeristic cultural tide for sure. People are in our market, if you want to keep using that word for churches, which is kind of sad, but it's true. It's a competitive marketplace, right? Yeah. So people are going to vote by preferences, which is really hard. The second thing that's really hard is that as soon as it gets difficult and you get hurt or offended, someone even loses your trust, which happens in church. It might be the definition of church: broken, messed up people that come and they hurt each other. It's inevitable. Yep. But we've seen a lot of people just dip as soon as that happens. Yeah. And it's so sad, because the other side of that woundedness or the offense is reconciliation, forgiveness, actually becoming a community that's resilient. Yeah. So those are at least two that are very hard to overcome.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that a lot around here for sure. It's so easy. Yeah. Especially here, man. Yeah. The consumeristic mindset is insane. Yeah. And it seeps in. I think it can seep into your mind and your family and in your home and as in your life. Yeah. And inadvertently it seeps into how you think about church. Yep. Which is unfortunate, I mean, I'm of the belief that it's like if you're called, and it's not at that point when you are called to a church, it's like your calling is obedience. It's not about the style of the preaching. It's not about the music, the loudness, the way, what the topic is. If you're called, then it's up to you to be obedient.
Yep.
And if you choose to walk away from that calling, then, it's disobedience.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
I agree. And I think you're right. We've lost a sense of divine calling.
Yeah.
A lot of people, even the good Christian mature people, will say, nah, I don't even believe that you can get a divine calling for church. And, I would obviously contend with that, but
yeah,
I think you're right about the different preferences to include kids, right? It's like, I'm just going to follow my kids to whatever their next youth group or kids group is. And it's like, how is that church supposed to grow up with a committed core if the families are constantly, shuffling the deck?
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of grit and temerity for the parents to just go, nah, we're going to stay here for a while.
Yeah. How do you feel that a person can identify whether or not they're called?
It's good. So I've gotten used to giving the speech because of people that leave in a good way, and they're sent because they're leaving because they must. They're out of county or out of state, and so I give them the same talk every time, and I go, give it. First of all, when you're out there church shopping, and I mean that redemptively, they got to go to a new area, so they have to go find out where they're called. And so beyond getting a supernatural word from the Lord about, yes, I'm highlighting this church for you.
Yeah.
When you go there, the first thing is you got to give it a fighting chance.
Yeah.
So you're not going to know in 1 or 2 visits.
Yeah.
You're not. You got to be there a month or 2 and somewhat regularly to get a sense.
Yeah.
Next thing I tell them is when you're there, what you're looking for is the really the marriage or the match of culture. And culture is something that is not on a banner on the wall or something someone's even going to say from the stage. It's intangible. It's something you're going to taste, touch, and feel from given amount of time.
Yeah.
And whatever the culture is in that local church matches up with the culture inside you, I think that's as good as you can do to find this is where we're called.
Yeah.
And so, and probably somewhere in there, I'm like, meet with the pastors, meet with pastors or elders or whoever it is, and just, ask all those good questions. Because if you find out right away we're doctrinally misaligned, then okay, cool. That's you might have to pack up and go to the next one.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I remember when we first started coming to Generations, which is where we go to church. I think we've shared this with you too, but we had just stepped off staff at the Crossing Church, and Megan had been there for her whole life, for 30 years.
Yeah.
And so she had never had the chance to really even venture out and see what else is out there. And so
you guys did this. You walked this out.
We did, yeah. And we walked it out. We probably went to 7 different ones, probably for about a month, 2 months at a time, just for a whole year, just checking them out. We went to, I guess I won't list them all, but different ones in the area. And I think we went to Generations. Maybe that was the first one we went to, and then we kind of checked out some other ones, and we came back, and we were kind of almost assessing the like what you said, the cultural fit, I guess, and maybe the call, the sensation that we felt the first month. We came back, and we're like, okay, let's evaluate that again. Let's see if it's still there, essentially. And I definitely remember, knowing you guys too, like you said, meet with the pastor. We know you guys. Your hearts and our hearts are very similar in the vision and our alignment of the purpose and generations and all these different things. And I just remember every time we went, we bawled for some reason. And maybe, who knows what the reason was. There probably was a bunch of emotional kind of maybe offloading we were going through just through the season of the previous ministry season. Yeah. And, but it was just this sign okay, there's something here that God is allowing us to experience. And so we kind of rode with that and sat with that. And that was when, of course, you don't know what the future holds. You don't know what 5-10 years down the road looks like. But that was the point where we were, okay, this is it. We're in. This is our commitment, and we're going to stay here until God tells us to go somewhere else. And He hasn't told us that to move anywhere or go anywhere. And so it's we're in.
Yeah, I think you guys walked that out amazingly, and I want to affirm something you kind of said. I think there's assignments. Like, I believe in assignments. And so, like, I believe you guys could be called to a new assignment. I believe I've watched other people get called to a new assignment. And like for a church plan or a startup or the city that's closer to them, and they drove, they passed 50 churches to get to ours. I'm like, I totally support you. Like, go to that local church down the street. That's the vision God's given you. Those are easy people to send out, you know? But getting that sense, being obedient is definitely first order. And I think not a lot of people think that way about obedience and about calling.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of was an interesting thought. I'm totally off the rails here of my notes. This is really good.
It's good. We need this today.
Yeah, this is awesome. In light of that, how do you feel like someone can get to know, at least, what's the way I want to say this? I guess get familiar with the Lord's voice, and I feel like there's immaturity. Like there's an immature nature of a lot of Christians, and having the maturity to sense the Lord's Spirit and sense the Lord's promptings and calling, and then commit to that. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I don't see it a lot, and I'm just curious. How do you feel like people can grab a hold of really committing to what God is telling them, and being kind of taking it with faith, but also having that sense, to kind of move into that level of maturity. Yeah,
it's such a good question. Generally, the idea of how to hear from the Lord, and I love what our friend Christopher Perrin, the tattoo pastor, is saying. He's been reminding me of this a lot recently, like that God is speaking through all of your senses. So he's speaking through feelings and emotions. He's speaking through opinions. He's speaking through words. He's speaking through scripture. He's speaking through the people of God, like all of it. He's even speaking through fears and spiritual attack. Like we have this weird, almost like polytheistic view of like, oh, God only has to do with this good stuff and all the other stuff must be the other side. And we affirm there's an enemy and a dark side, but it's like even the Lord, who's sovereign over all, is using all the data information to speak to us. And so it's not always just the audible voice of God or a prophetic vision that I think we get. We use all of that as the full counsel of God's revelation to say, okay, we've been quiet enough. Yeah. We've stopped and been still enough.
That's good.
Now we've heard, and where I love to challenge people is like, if you've heard, all that's left is simple obedience. Like, what are we doing?
Like, right.
And I think another thing that you and Meg stand for beautifully that we're just totally yoked in is like, you better be together with your spouse. I mean, 100%. You're not, even if the man is the governmental head or lead of the family, like you need the woman's discernment and sensitivity of spirit to be able to go, we heard together. I mean, my goodness, that is the first counsel. It's like the two of you going, without a doubt, the two of us are confirmed. We're going together. That helps a heck of a lot.
I'm wondering, just had this thought, in the spiritual realm, in the spiritual sense, do you feel like there's a spirit of like being orphaned, like an orphan spirit, to where that, maybe spiritually it prevents people from, or like, the idea of like abandonment. If you have this fear of abandonment and trust, and you go to one place and you kind of have this pattern of like 2 years here, 2 years there, 2 years there, 2 years there, almost like just the whole foster system in the church, just for going to church. How would you what thoughts around that?
Dude, we see it all the time. It's completely, sadly, alive and well. People are just, they'll stay for a while. This happened recently. I just use this as an anecdote and illustration. These two young women, recent college graduates, and I had the coffee with a pastor meeting with them. And it was for them to come to me and say, we're called. This is the place. Okay. Like, we're going to be here with tears in their eyes. Like, we're confirmed. We've been beat up. We've had hard experiences in our family system and other churches. We've seen unhealth. We've seen, and we love the mix of this church, that it's gospel-centered and spirit-led. And, we're here. And then within 2 weeks, they heard something they didn't like from the stage, and they were gone.
Wow.
And it was completely an orphan spirit type of thing. Like, I actually believed for them, even when there was the conflict or the friction that they felt, I'm like, hang out and you can get healed here. You can find sanctuary here. You're going to get patched up because we carry family. That's what our church carries. Like, we're totally exist to place the lonely into family.
So good.
But because the information came to them of hurt and offense and disagreement, they came under that spiritual agreement and go, can't do it here. I better go to the next place down the street. Wow. And I know we're the third church in as many months.
Yeah.
So it grieves the pastor's heart to see that.
Where do you feel like that comes from? Do you feel like there's a like a generational maybe sin, or maybe just if you have father wounds or something like that? Do you feel like there's a common trait with a lot of people that might be coming from, or maybe they're experiencing that from those wounds?
Yeah, I mean, there's, on the one hand, you have this data that says that pastors and churches have lost institutional trust. That's it. You've read all the same stuff from Barna and elsewhere, where they're like, dude, the most recent iteration was like, pastors are not even top 5 of untrustworthy people. Like car salesmen are more trusted than us, as, like pastors. And it's just like, wow, what a bummer.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we're definitely up against that.
Interesting.
And that has to do with moral failure, and that has to do with the church rightly losing their credibility. Like, I get that.
Dang.
But that friction, that thing that's dissuading them, it goes even farther when you have some kind of emotional and spiritual bondage or wounding. When those come together, the person has even less chance of saying, I'm going to give another chance. I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to overcome the hurt or the friction I'm feeling to really see what's on the other side of committed love. And so I think it's all of that. I think it's family of origin. I think it's a bad church experience.
How do you feel like people can combat that spirit and combat that lie?
Yeah, Riley and I have this thing, they're working on with our channel, Parenting with Grit and Grace, the Grit and Grace movement. And one of the things that we're going to be working on this summer, which should be out maybe in fall or later on, is basically a spiritual warfare prayer guide. And it's
that's awesome.
Intensely practical.
Yeah.
It's a guide for daily deliverance.
Okay.
So just daily, when you get those ideas or those invitations, and you're tempted to agree with them subconsciously or consciously, renouncing those, rejecting those. It's like the old word from Jesus, like, get behind me, Satan. That's what renouncing looks like. And not just stopping there, but welcoming the gospel truth. God's for me. He's with me. He's forgiven me. I'm freed. I have my identity and my security in Christ alone. And people do not know how to do that, dude. And it's not something that just a pastor does for you or a prayer counseling person does for you. It's something the believer has to know how to do. And we are utterly like impoverished when it comes to that practice.
Wow. And uneducated.
Yeah.
I mean, geez. Wow, that's cool. So Grit and Grace.
Yeah, man.
Shout out Grit and Grace.
Coming back.
What did you call it? Grit and Grace movement.
Yeah. I mean, it's just Parenting with Grit and Grace, I think is the moniker. But
so good.
Yeah.
So it's the Grit and Grace spiritual warfare. What?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. We don't have titles yet, but it's a daily guide.
That's so epic.
It's a daily guide for deliverance.
Dude, yeah. We got to drop that, man.
Heck yeah.
Let's go.
Yep.
That'll be so good. That'll be a great resource. On this note, I'm curious too, even as we think about now, kind of thinking about the family at large, our own families.
Yeah.
What do you feel like the risk is for our kids if we are demonstrating or behaving in a way that exhibits this spirit, or maybe we oblige this false spirit? I mean, both from the perspective of like what our kids might perceive, but then even spiritually, like the spiritual wound of continuing to abide by the spirit of being an orphan.
Right. Yeah, no surprise. I love how you carry that. Everything's generational, right? Like it all comes back to generational patterns and sequences. And so take the example of just like flagging commitment and moving on and transience and preferences. Like, again, this occurred to Riley and I in the last 2 years when we're watching these parents leave. And again, half of the thing that was cited was just looking for something different for our kids. And if it's true, they say that for most kids, it's caught, not taught.
Yeah.
What are we modeling when we go, hey, we're going to plug in, unplug, plug in, unplug, plug in, unplug? Like, it's just showing them a really sad track record of transience and lack of commitment.
Dang.
So I find it hard to believe they're not going to pick up on that. Kids as young as 7, 8, 9 are going to be able to see, oh, we were there and then we weren't. Do we know why? Not really.
So good, man. Yeah, I'm reminded of, your brother-in-law, Seth, and his coaching practice, Fortive. Some of the things that he says is like, what's the risk, or how does he say it? You might remember, but it's like, what is the risk of us doing this or behaving like this as parents? Mm-hmm. And what's the risk for our kids, or that's what it was, payoff and cost. So he uses those two words.
Yeah.
What is the payoff in the sense of like, what's the quick satisfaction that we get by doing this? Mm-hmm. that maybe our kids will get, but then also what's the cost?
Yeah.
What is it going to cost our kids? What are our kids going to lose out on? In like covenant love? Like what do you think?
Yeah, man, I think that's so good. Everything's trade-offs.
Yeah.
So like I've even trying to be nice and merciful with some of these families. Like, hey, I get it. I want let's take the teenage example, because that's when a lot of people are making transitional moves. They're like, I just don't like the size or the type of kids, students that are in the student ministry, J-High and high school. And so like, we're going to go somewhere else because our teenager needs something bigger or better, whatever. And I'm like, okay, like, yeah, do it for the next generation. Because I'm committed to every generation falling in love with the local church. So I'll give them that speech.
Yeah.
I'll be like, yo, do this. Like, even if it means you take a hit so they can thrive. Like, I appreciate that. But that's a trade-off. That just to Seth's point, it's like, you know, there's one problem with that. Here's the pushback I give. Revision. Are you reading that book too?
Oh, Family Revision?
Yeah.
Megan is. I have yet to kind of really dive into it.
Shout out for that. I haven't read it either, but Riley cracked it open right away. She's like,
I've like dabbled a little bit.
Chapter 1, dude. Chapter 1. The guy's like, the whole family system is based off individualism.
Yeah.
Where the whole family serves one kid.
Yeah.
So whether it be we're all going to pack up now and go to little Johnny's, sport, we're going to all pack up and then do Susie's performance. We're going to, it's like, what are we modeling to them? What are we showing them in terms of that cost payoff, except individualism? And so that's such a prophetic challenge for us, because guys like me and you, we knew that the culture's propping up consumerism and individualism.
Yeah.
But now, like this guy, I forget his name, but people can
Pryor.
Pryor. He's saying, yo, that's symptomatic in the family itself is modeling individualism.
Wow.
So we just, like guys like me and you are trying to rise up and go, nah, we're going to be a tribe. We're going to move together.
Yeah.
We're going to die together for stuff.
Yep.
And it ain't going to be no, altar of individualism just for one kid. So that's a move.
That's so good. Yeah. I just feel like there's so much that, I mean, if we miss this, if we as parents miss this, then like our kids are we're just setting them up for the same thing.
Yep.
And it feels like too big of a cost.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I want my kids to understand what it means to be committed to a church and be committed to a church family, and to be in it through and through.
Yeah.
And to walk things out and to learn and to grow. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest benefits is growth.
Yeah.
Is maturity.
Yeah.
Is growing up, and then having the opportunity to walk others through the same process, through the same maturity, and experiencing so much forgiveness and grace and relationship.
Yeah.
I feel like do you have any other thoughts on
I love what you're saying there. Like, you and I have rapped for many hours talking about generational cycles, right? Yeah. And I heard on a podcast the other day, the gal said, this cycle of brokenness ends with me. So parents, I mean, that's your challenge. That's your call out.
Yeah.
Are you going to be the ones that go, I'm standing up? I'm standing up. That cycle, whatever it is, fill in the blank, the orphan spirit, the woundedness, the offense, the hyper therapeutic boundaries culture, whatever, like that stops with me. And we're going to do something that's, across 8 generations.
Yeah.
And not just our 2 feet in front of our face.
Yeah. That's interesting. I hear it a lot, that the idea of being generationally minded, even with what we do with Legacymakers, even the word legacy comes across as it's too far removed. It's not relevant. It's not urgent. It's not right in their face, And so it's hard to wrap your mind around. Okay, how do you actually live and build a legacy? How do you actually live generationally?
Right.
And I'm sure Jeremy Pryor in his book Family Revision has a ton of words on that. But
Todd Proctor, our friend from
one of the
founding guys from Rock Harbor, says, he goes, are you living to be the best, or are you living to raise up 20 better?
Yeah.
But to your point, what that assumes is you're living for people you haven't met yet, don't know yet, can't see yet. And so you have to talk about obedience, bro. You got to make up your mind and heart to be like, this is for all the people that won't even be at my funeral.
Yeah.
They won't even know me, but they're going to know the second or third or fourth that came after me. So making that commitment, dude, for something you can't see.
Yeah.
But that's the faith legacy of the patriarchs. That's what the Bible, the Old Testament scriptures we're reading is like, that's what the whole thing is.
And they were all like that. They all thought that way. They all thought generations for my kids and my kids' kids and my children's children. Man. I know Jerry Towell is all in that too, right? Yeah. He's all into that.
Yeah. That's one of my spiritual fathers. And
so good.
Why we got 12 kids.
And that's the way God sees it. I mean, that's how God thinks. That's how God sees. He is, obviously he's outside of time. He's timeless, but he sees the generations.
Yep.
Like, why can't we see the generations?
That's faith.
Yeah.
That's faith.
Yeah,
You're walking by faith, not by sight.
Walk by faith. So good, man. Wow, it's been good. There's a couple other topics I want to hit on that might be a little bit lighthearted, maybe a little bit more lighthearted. This has been really good, though. Thanks.
Dude, we got the hammer, bro.
Yeah.
First 20 minutes is hammer.
Thanks for entertaining that, dude. That was so good. Yeah. So kind of, I mean, within the realms of this similar conversation, but, in light of what Legacymakers is up to, in light of what Generations is up to, some other thoughts on just family discipleship, and then maybe even homeschooling. We can hit on some of that and this other comment that I've been kind of mulling over in my mind for the past couple months. In the area of family discipleship, what does a church that takes family discipleship seriously actually look like on a Sunday morning, Wednesday night, small group? What in your mind, like what do you think?
Yeah, man, I love this question, and there's maybe a newer, better book that's been written on this, but the guy who wrote the textbook on it is, I think it was Reggie Joyner, Think Orange.
Oh,
so Think Orange is like just the name says it all. He basically goes, I'll probably mix these up, but you'll get the metaphor. Like if the family is red and the church is yellow, bring them together, you get orange. And so these are two great institutions of God. The church is an institution of God. The family is an institution of God. And so the first thing we need to reject is that like one is better than the other or one's more needed than the other.
Yeah.
Let's just reject that.
Totally.
I know guys are that hardcore. They're like, I'm doing family discipleship enough in the home. I don't need your church. And you go, what?
Wow.
Like you have a high missiology of your family, but a very low ecclesiology, church understanding. And so the way we're going to shift generations and culture and places is if the two come together. So I think that's the first conviction, is that we got to do both.
That's good. Do you feel like there is a way, I guess the way that I noticed this is, with the consumer mindset, do you feel like there's a consumeristic bent towards modern churches, some modern churches, that would render themselves as substituting themselves for the family ministry,
right,
or not?
Yeah, the way I'd relate to that question is like, many times we will see the onus put on the church. The family believes, hey, it's going to be the church's job to disciple and raise my kids, make sure they turn out okay. Well, let's just do the math. If the church gets your kid for 3, maximum 5 hours a week, let's say they're there on Sunday, they're there on Wednesday night, that ain't going to cut it. You got 165 hours a week or whatever it is, that ain't going to be okay. Yeah. I mean, it's worked in some circles and places, but that is not a holistic discipleship picture. And so the church is a catalyst to get that family going, to get the parents trained and mobilized so that they can be the primary disciples. And the youth pastors and the pastors need to be careful not to buy that lie that we're going to be the primary disciplers. No, that's a misnomer. That's not how it works. You got to train the parents so the parents can raise a household. So it does sometimes happen where people are thinking the church is going to be the primary discipler. It's backwards.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, but even on that note of thinking orange, I feel like it's something. I mean, obviously, at Legacymakers, we're fully bought into helping equip and educate and empower parents to be spiritual leaders. But at the same time, our family, like we live kind of what you said. The idea of thinking orange. It's like you have to have both. I don't feel like we have a consumeristic mindset around church, whereas a lot of families might. But I guess like what do you feel like was God's vision, his picture, his hope for how church and family becomes together? I guess like how families think about church.
I think you got to go back to Acts, and then you go to the epistles, and you look at how the church is organized, and you got people meeting in the synagogue, you got people meeting in house churches, and that's why I'm cool with house churches. That's why I'm cool with churches of every size. There's a place for all of them. And back to your earlier question about competition and marketplace, like that's why I'm not freaked out about 50 plus churches in Costa Mesa alone. That's great. We actually need more. That's still not enough to service the 110,000 people that live here. It's not enough. And so, but back to the question at hand, you look at Acts, and they gathered weekly for the breaking of bread, for prayer, for the preaching of the word, right? And they shared. They had this generosity. They welcomed in the orphan and the widow. They served the city. So I imagine that the family, even there's this debate about baptism. Like there was no precedent for a child getting baptized without a parent, or a parent getting baptized without a child. Like this is the argument they make for like infant baptism. Even it's like, yeah, the whole family came to salvation.
Yeah.
And so there's an integration we're still missing. Even Generations Church is probably missing a greater integration of the family faith and the church faith. And I think, the bottom line is, and there's another theological framework from Acts and the epistles, is like a phrase we use, the new family of God. So that's the church. The church is the new family of God. And so what is Jesus meaning when he says, brother will forsake sister and father will forsake son? Like he's just saying, I'm drawing new lines. I'm drawing new familial lines. And so until we see a complete blending, an orange blending, we still have work to do.
Yeah. So good, man. Okay. Back to the idea of big families. 12 kids, right?
Yeah, man.
This thought I've been kind of mulling around on. I've talked with several people on it, but it's just kind of, I don't know, it's maybe a controversial statement. Who knows?
Yeah, it is. Let's do it though.
But it's just this idea that in our current world system, in this cultural moment, there's a lot of people that probably don't, at least from what I see, is like the family just isn't valued. Children aren't valued. It's like you said, it's an individualistic culture. It's a self-oriented culture, and which obviously makes it so it's like, if you're gonna have kids, you got to sacrifice yourself. You got to die to yourself. You're gonna get married. You got to die to yourself. It's not about you,
right?
And but it's just this idea. Okay, if we have that group of people who kind of are in that camp, and they're not having kids, it's like, well, as a Christian, like, what does it matter to us? I mean, those guys are going to be dead and gone in 50 years. And if we're a family, if we're Christians and we have a family and we have kids, and like, our lineage is going to continue.
Yeah. Yep.
That whole idea.
Yeah, man. So we're going to go off on this for a second. And I'm going to even get a shout out to another podcast that it's called King's Hall. I would thought about this question and prayed about this question. And I think your listeners are down for it. I will preface this. They're aggressive. They're a little bit intense. These dudes, they're pastors in Ogden, Utah, and they're intense. They're a little political, a little philosophical. But I just listened to an episode from 2023 on being fruitful. They talk about fertility, IVF, all this stuff. They're getting very tactical and specific. I'm not going to go there. It's not for me to go there. But taking the meat, spitting out some of the bones. The meat of what they're saying is they're trying to inspire a new generation to have a bunch of babies. Straight up. Is what you're talking about. Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth, exercise dominion over the whole earth and all the nations. And dude, there's not enough people talking about this or writing about this.
Wow.
This idea of, how does God want me to build my family?
Wow.
Now, obviously, we've talked already about other ways to build your family discipleship wise, but even just let's pick on numerically. Right? We're just going, hey, what's convenient? What makes sense for my pocketbook? What can I handle? That's not death to self. That's just like preference. And we've utterly waved out of hand, even the birth control. And they go through all of that, the history of that, what that did in this nation, and how the church tried to respond in different circles about like, whoa, hold on. Like, does God have an opinion about my family planning? This is an incredibly unsung story of the church in this moment we're in right now.
Wow.
And they talk about all the right things, like, how can we do this responsibly? How can we not put the burden just on the woman, just to like pound out all these babies and care for them? Like they're affirming all these things and being gracious enough on a lot of those subjects, and they're not telling you how or how many even. They even at the end of the episode, they're like, no, I'm not talking about that. But like, can we just entertain the idea of like, what is God's will for our womb? What is God's will for our fertility? What is God's will for our plan?
Wow.
Our family plan. And the last illustration I'll get from it is like, my favorite part of the episode, when they moved from the kind of the politics and the hubris, they just started celebrating what it was like when they were all young married and they all started having kids. And they talked about being broke and it being really hard and being overrun by these babies. And you know what else? It being the best years of their life. And I was just like, heck yeah. Like out loud in the car listening to this podcast, like that, like they were talking about building bunks for cheap for their kids. And we just built our first bunks for our kids. And I'm like, dude, pioneer days, Puritan days. Like, let's just fill the earth with God-fearing kids that carry a generational vision for all the nations. Like, can we just pause and just consider that before we get another, freaking surgery to not have kids? And I know that's going to trigger some people, but it's like, let's just pause and ask and pray.
Right.
What can God do?
And ultimately, I mean, it's not, that's funny, man. I love that question. Can we entertain God's will for our family? Ultimately, if you think about it, it's like God's will is what God ordered. And he ordered to be fruitful and multiply. He ordered for a man and a woman to be fruitful and multiply.
Yep.
And so that means that just means no birth control. Like that's God's will. Let's just be clear about it.
Yeah.
That means just you're trusting the Lord, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like people are like, what other kind of hangups and fears and risks that people feel like they have to deal with that?
I think you said it. I think it's about fears and anxieties and pragmatisms, and we've just erased God. We've just made this completely atheistic decision about our family planning, and we just and you're right. Riley and I have had this conversation many times. Like when we're praying into having kid 9, 10, 11, and 12, like we're not praying God's what's your will.
No.
He's already spoken.
Yeah, he's already spoken.
So it's kind of a silly thing to be like,
what's your will, Lord?
Yeah, is God, do you have a heart for more kids? Born into a faithful family that believes for generational legacies? Like, that's silly,
Yeah.
And yet we still pray and we're still discerning. And we're asking the same question every time. How's our marriage? How's our current load of kids? Like, how's he coming to us? What's we're sensing? How's our bodies? All of that. But the number 1 and 2 questions is not, do we have enough money for this? And what will people say about us? Those don't have bearing on our decision making. And yet for most people, it does.
That's good.
So I just think we need to wrestle with those idols, those cultural gods that keep us out of, fruitfulness.
That's so good, man. How do you wrestle with those, I wonder? People, I mean, we get looks all the time at the grocery store. People are like, oh, wow, you have a lot of kids. Like, oh my gosh, you got your hands full.
Circus.
How do you do it? We're just like, okay, whatever, just move on.
Yeah.
But, I'm sure some people get those thoughts and they're like, what do I say? Or they, it's easy to want to oblige the culture.
Right.
And please, maybe it's people pleasing. I don't know. What else is it? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's exactly right. I think it's the awkwardness and the cultural pressure, of feeling weird, of feeling different. And, it's just like we talked about Sunday, looking at Jeremiah. Jeremiah was this example who railed against the false prophets and the false idols of that cultural moment. He did not live to please the audience. He lived to please God. Like it was only God's opinion. It was only the words of God he was depending on minute over minute. And so until we die to even immediate family expectations of us, man, grandparents, I don't know if you faced this, we've shared, like, grandparents have had a hard time, looking at us growing our family this way, or relatives or friends.
Another one?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's cool because now they're like bought in, in the early days it was harder, but like now they get it. Like now they're saying to their friends, like, proudly how many grandkids they have. And it's like, that's what it should be. Like you should be proud. Like you're part of the village raising these guys. You've gotten a taste of how beautiful it is. It's possibly hard, but it's also the most fun thing I've ever done.
That's so good. Yeah, there's a great psalm here. I'm going to read it for you. This is how we're going to cap the episode right here. Let's go. Psalm 128. I think it's Psalm 128, 7, I believe. Yeah. Or no, just the whole thing. Blessed is everyone who fears the Lord, who walks in his ways. When you eat, let me switch the versions here. Make it a little more easy. How joyful are those who fear the Lord, all who follow his ways. You will enjoy the fruit of your labor. How joyful and prosperous you will be. Your wife will be like a fruitful grapevine flourishing within your home. Your children will be like vigorous young olive trees as they sit around your table. That is the Lord's blessing for those who fear him. And then he goes on, may the Lord continually bless you from Zion. May you see Jerusalem prosper as long as you live. May you live to enjoy your grandchildren. And may Israel have peace. So,
dude, just to punctuate that, that opening verse reminds me of the famous either psalm or proverb, right? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. That's it, guys. So if you're listening to this and you're just wondering, how do I begin? How do I overcome? Just do a quick check of what has your fear. If you're afraid of man, if you're afraid of culture, if you're afraid of other people's expectations, then that is your God. You need to replace those idols and those cultural fears with the fear of God alone, and everything else will be given to you.
So good. Great word, bro.
Amen.
I love it. Well, thank you guys. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for hanging out. Great talk. Appreciate it, bro.
My pleasure.
Thank you guys for listening. We will see you on the next episode.